Okay, this is the meeting for the Board of Psychology. I'd like to introduce a video that explains the internet access and the phone access to our meeting.
Welcome to the Professional and Vocational Licensing Virtual Board Meeting.
When the meeting begins momentarily, the chair will take a roll call, explain any specific rules for this particular board, and then move to public comment. The name of the board member will appear on the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. For instance, this is board member Y, and this is board member E. Public testimony will be accepted at the beginning of the meeting and before each agenda item. You can indicate that you are ready to testify by clicking on the Raise Hand button being circled by the mouse on your screen now. At the appropriate time, the board will recognize you to speak and ask you to unmute your mic as shown here. Again, public testimony will be accepted at the beginning of the meeting and before each agenda item. Public attendees will not be able to unmute their microphone until recognized by the board. Public attendees who are recognized to testify will be asked to identify themselves by name and their affiliated organization if applicable. Please mute your microphone when you are finished speaking as a courtesy to others and members of the board. Public attendees will not be able to unmute themselves after the testimony is completed unless recognized again after raising their hand. At some point during the meeting, the board may choose to move into executive session. When the board moves into executive session, the board members' microphones and video feeds will be turned off, and a similar screen as you see now will be displayed. When the board returns from executive session, their microphones will be turned on as well as their video cameras.
Welcome again to the Professional and Vocational Licensing Virtual Board Meeting.
At this time, the chair will call the meeting to order and take a roll call, as well as explain any additional rules that may be specific to this board.
Okay, I will now call the Board of Psychology meeting to order. Today is June 30th, 2026. Members, when I call your name, please indicate if you are present, and if you are attending remotely, that you are alone in your room. Dr. Jeffrey Stern,
I'm here and I'm alone in my office.
Dr. Stephen Taketa,
I'm present and I'm alone in my office.
Dr. Sean Scanlon,
Present.
Dr. Sherry Takushi Isara.
Present.
And I, Chair Dr. June Ching, am also present. With at least 4 members present, we have quorum, and I will now call the meeting to order. The time is now 9:14 a.m. Moving on to item 2, we will be reviewing the minutes. Is there anyone that wishes to provide testimony?
No testimony at this time, Chair.
Okay. Okay, so let's review and approve and ask for approval of the board meeting minutes. The first one is May 22nd, 2026. Are there any comments or corrections to those set of minutes? Okay.
Yes, you could also go next to the exec minutes and then do the vote altogether.
Okay, so we'll also. Okay, are there any comments or corrections also to the May 22nd executive minutes? I want to thank our EO for getting the minutes out for review. It was much appreciated. Okay.
I agree. I found like a couple of commas, but totally non-substantive.
Okay, can I have a motion to accept the minutes?
Motion to accept.
Are there any abstentions or any?
A second.
Oh, okay, can I have a second?
If you want one, sure. Whoever's there is probably, I defer to those in the room to make it easier.
Steven, I think. When you do a roll call. So you can say, is there any objections or abstention?
We have to individually. Are there any objections or abstentions? Hearing none, then the minutes for May 22nd are approved. And we'll move on to item number 3, provisional licensure associate psychologist.
Just for the record, it's both the minutes and the executive minutes were approved.
Yes, that's correct. Okay, so we're looking at provision licensure associate psychologist. The board will review Act 33, 2024. You want me to read it out?
If you like.
Okay. Which establishes a provisional license for those who qualify and who can use the title associate psychologist. The board will discuss the new license type as it pertains to the duties of the board, including but not limited to the process for applying for the license, fees, and creating delegations pursuant to HRS 436B-8 for the executive officer and PVL licensing branch to approve applications without disciplinary action or criminal convictions, as well as applications with certain disciplinary action or criminal convictions. You want me to read the whole part too?
Okay.
Okay, so do we want to enter into executive session to discuss?
It's up to you guys if you'd like to. Do you have a question for Jordan, or if you don't have a question, then we can just stay in open.
Did you have some questions that you
No.
Jordan? Okay, we can stay in open then.
Would you like me to provide like a report?
Sure.
Good morning, everybody. So as you may or may not know, the provisional license for associate psychologists goes effective tomorrow, July 1st, 2026. So there are a few kind of housekeeping things we need to do, or we're asking the board to help us with from the administrative side. So specifically right now, as it stands, applications that are submitted will need to be reviewed by the board. So that would mean we would monthly be reviewing all provisional license applications that are coming in. So in order to kind of manage that flow, and because of certain requirements that are not the same as a full license, we were asking if the board would be willing to allow us to approve those applications that meet all requirements with no discipline, what we call a clean application. The application itself, just focusing on that for now, the application itself involves an application form, a confirmation in that application form that they completed an internship within their doctoral program. It includes, if they are not from an APA accredited institution, then it includes a training report. Have a copy of it too, if you have not seen it yet. It also includes the verification of the supervisor for the postdoctoral experience. So they'll have to submit that and their transcript of the form. But because the postdoctoral experience has not happened yet, there wouldn't be a review of like the hours or the content of that training. It would just be that we're confirming that this person is being supervised by this licensed psychologist here in Hawaii and for these dates and such. So we have that on record and put that on their license on the account. Which means that there's really little to no deliberative knowledge required, maybe no deliberative knowledge required for those applications. And the deliberative knowledge would be based off 436B and the delegation section there. So It's mainly anything of the profession that takes your guys' expertise would be considered that, right? So something like hours probably wouldn't fall under that, but what was actually discussed in supervision would be deliberative knowledge that you guys would have to address. I would need a delegation in order to do that. So with that said, the application itself doesn't really have deliberative knowledge required. So we were thinking that those applications we can just approve and get them going. We're assuming that, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but most people are going to be graduating out and getting ready around August or so. So we expect that we'll be prepared for that time frame with these delegations. And so when, if UH decided to send in applications all together, for example, for their cohort, we would process them individually, and they would have to have their own payments. But I could approve all of them like right away if there's no issues with their applications, and it wouldn't have to wait for the board to review. So that's one of the reasons for the agenda item today. The second item is also the list that was provided in the board packet with regard to the types of criminal convictions that you don't have to approve any of them, right? This is just an offer of, are there certain types of applications with disciplinary action or criminal conviction histories that you would be okay with administratively being approved and not coming to a meeting to discuss it. So that was why that list was included. In that case, since these involve, types of infractions and things like that, and you might have some legal questions, you may be open to executive session to ask Jordan how these relate to a delegation to me. So if you have concerns, and you think you need to ask Jordan, you can do executive session for that.
I actually have a couple of questions, and so I move that we go into executive session so I can ask.
For Jordan?
Generally about this delegation piece. Yes, I guess it would be for Jordan.
Okay.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yes. So, Dr. Stern, are you making a motion for us to move to executive session to have this
Yes.
session? Can I have a second?
Second.
Okay. We are now moving to executive session.
Thank you.
Did you guys do a roll call vote first?
Oh,
Sorry.
are there any abstentions or any kinds of objections to us going into executive session?
Okay.
I'm not sure if they
Hold on, Dr. Stern, let me move us over.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're fine.
I have to move over.
Do I have to call everyone's name?
Yeah.
Okay, I will call out your name and could you indicate that you are back? I'm going to be doing roll call again. Dr. Jeffrey Stern,
I am here.
okay, Dr. Stephen Taketa,
Present and alone.
okay, Dr. Sean Scanlon,
Present.
and Dr. Sherry Takuchi Isara, present, and I am also present. All right, we're back into open session and still the same agenda item that has to do with provisional licensure associate psychologist. More discussion?
Yeah, so did you want to clarify if the board was going to be approving delegation for clean applications?
Okay. Okay, the board will not be. We will not be having it signing delegation, right?
Is it appropriate to make a motion in this regard? As it
Yeah,
relates
sure. I mean,
to our
what's the motion?
discussion?
Why don't you go ahead and make a motion?
Because the motion I had was that in applications where all the boxes can be checked such that all the requirements are met for associate licensure, based upon the new Hawaii Revised Statute, the law, that they be delegated that authority to do the initial check for eligibility for licensure, associate licensure, be done by the executive officer and the team, and that it be as our standard operating procedure. Then it would be reviewed by one of the executive officers.
So point of clarification, just you mean applications that meet all requirements and do not have criminal conviction or disciplinary action
Thank
history?
you.
Yes.
Yes, especially that last part. Thank you.
Okay,
Okay.
okay. Can we have a second to the motion that Dr. Stern just made?
Second.
Okay. Any objections or correct abstentions? Hearing none, that motion is passed.
And a special thank you to the executive officer for assisting me with my language.
No worries.
Huh?
Did you want to just make a note that the board would not be doing any delegations for criminal convictions or disciplinary actions?
Say that again?
Did you want to just let the public know that the board would not be making any delegations for criminal convictions or disciplinary actions at this time, or not?
No.
Right,
It would
we're,
be
we're
delegated to
drawing
the
a straight
board.
line. We're saying that if the
No, you
person
don't-
does have
no,
any
yes.
sort of criminal conviction, that it would go before the board and it would
Right.
not be
Yes.
delegated.
Yes.
Yes.
Right. Okay, so the clarification that if there are any types of criminal convictions in their applications for associate psychologist licensure, that it would appear before the board.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay. And then Sean, did you want to make note what you were saying? Was there any other, just as a point of information for the public, so in review of these delegations, we were going over the instructions. It's highly important that applicants review these instructions for the provisional license for associate psychologists. There's additional information in there, not just for how you apply for the license, but there's also information with regard to, say, an internship. So the application process does not require you to verify your internship on a verification form, notarization like you would as for a full license. However, on the application form itself, it does ask whether you've completed an internship with your doctoral program, because 465 defines a doctoral program as including an internship. So an application without an internship could be in question because they may not meet that definition. So in order to try and ease this issue of requirement not on the provisional but on the full, on page 3 of the application instructions, we gave a little attention, if you will, a box that states as a title internship. excuse me, sorry, and states the following. Pursuant to HRS 4651, a professional psychology training program is defined as a planned program of study which reflects an integration of the science and practice of psychology, including practica and internship. While HRS 465.7.2 regarding provisional licensure requirements does not indicate an internship as a requirement, you will need to confirm that you completed an internship within your professional psychology training program or your training program to qualify for the license. Important. If you wish to apply for full licensure as a psychologist in Hawaii after you complete your postdoctoral training using your provisional license, you will be required to confirm that you have completed at least 1 year of internship in health service psychology for a total of at least 1,900 hours under the supervision of a qualifying psychologist prior to graduation. And please be advised that the requirement is mandatory for all examination and examination waiver applicants, including those who previously held a provisional psychology license. So that's what I included in the instructions to kind of help the issue.
Yeah, I think that clarifies it, right?
Okay. We also, for the application though, like I had stated earlier, we also include a training report just in case they did not go to an APA school. And so I've updated that, and I'm going to update it for the full license as well because it looks a lot better, and I think it's a little bit better to work for the applicants to use. So those are really the only that modification of that form, the training report, and then the new forms for the application is really what we got.
We're talking about having more of a checklist for the training application, for the supervisors. Is that what you're referring to?
No, but that definitely the idea of all of the work on this application process is to, with eyes on updating our current process and get better, yeah.
Is it an appropriate time to offer a concern and or question about the some of our documentation, specifically as it relates to practicum? It came up in this month's applicant for licensure
Okay.
in terms of a lack of documentation of practicum. We don't know if it's a non-APA accredited APA accredited program, whether their practicum is something that the student sets up for themselves, and you know, how often do they meet with the supervisor, and how many face-to-face hours do they get of supervision and training, and what kind of things are they doing in their practicum? If they don't offer that information and it's not part of our so what's the name of that form? We had it for this this applicant. Let me get the right page. You mentioned it a moment ago. It's like the training
Oh, the training report.
training report, correct. If you notice, the training report only lists courses, like assessment courses and so forth, but it doesn't offer any sort of, you're supposed to not only have practicum experience, but you go to class and meet with a faculty member to review practicum stuff as well. And there's no documentation of that in that training report.
Yeah, I think because when I'm coursing through the laws and rules, I'm not seeing any information specifically in the rules about practicum reporting, but we do have for internship reporting. It does state, though, in the definition of a program that it would include like a practica or internship. So yeah, it's kind of a gray area, yeah.
Well, it was illustrated as a gray area for the particular applicant this month.
Okay. One thing that the new training report includes is an acknowledgement section. It doesn't include anything like a practicum, you know, acknowledgement, but it does ask them to list their university transcripts, the site, because some universities have multiple sites, right? And so when I'm looking at accreditation, we have to know which school they actually went to. The degree program title and whether it's PhD PsyD.
Agenda topic calls for it.
Yeah. I
So
think
sorry, this is for the. I thought we
I'm
were
just thinking, just in general terms, you have a practicum, like a training report. right? And it lists only the courses, but among the courses, that one's glaringly missing. You actually take a course in your programs that is related to practicum, where you have a academic supervisor who talks to you about what's going on in your practicum sites. It's not independent of the university and the program. But this is the form that we currently use does not have that course listed. If you did, then it would also have a course description, so you would know what's going on in their practicum.
And the courses or the types of courses that are listed on the training report actually come from the rules in the training section. So we've only listed what's been written out in the rules. So it doesn't include a practicum stuff in that section. So
I don't think it includes the practicum section, but I'm also wondering, Dr. Stern, if we could talk about the questions about the individual applicant when we get to that applicant.
Of course, I'm more speaking generally about the form itself. And if that's, and now I know that it's a rules issue. And so that
Okay.
means it's another area that we may want to update the rules.
right.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comment. Okay, any other comments? On that particular section? For us, I think we're still talking about the associate's licensure.
Do you guys have any other so on the provisional license, we actually attended a town hall last week. It was put on by the Office of Wellness and Resilience. And not a lot of questions about psychology. I don't think any. It was mostly mental health counselors.
Thank you for attending that meeting.
You're welcome.
Okay, if there is no further discussion, we can move on to the next item, which is temporary permits. Is there anyone wishing to provide testimony?
No testimony at the moment.
So under this agenda item, the board continues to review HRS section 465-9 relating to temporary permits, permit application process, and possible amendments to HRS chapter 465 to modernize the process. Is this something that we can discuss in open session or, okay?
I think last month you guys kind of didn't talk too much about it. You had noted that California has changed their laws this year, but we're hoping maybe Dr. Scanlon had additional information or
about, we were taking a look at the whole area of temporary permits in Hawaii and how they grant temporary permits in comparison to other states and temporary permits.
I looked at it, there's 30 something other states that have it. And I think our process is about the same as most of those. It comes through here, it gets granted, just depends how streamlined it is. But it's the same process. And go.
And Hawaii's is what temporary is for 60 days, 90 days, right? And they can apply again for another subsequent 90 within the calendar year?
not necessarily apply, they can just request an extension.
Extension.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like it's in line with other states.
The one thing that is an issue is that the amount of information they have to provide in order to get the temporary permit. Because right now we're using the understanding of the law relating the application process for temporary permits back to the same process for exam and exam waiver.
Yeah.
So a temporary permit requester or, they're gonna have to do like a full license application. And that's not really conducive to temporary practice, right?
Okay.
So the question is, how do we adjust the law so that they have a more streamlined, but we don't we kind of still stick to what everybody else is doing. So if California, for example, is not doing the whole undisclosed 30-day or just only note to the board for 30-day, and then you now have to actually apply.
Now have to apply.
Then it makes sense that this board might consider the same process and keeping it the same, but maybe changing what the requirements are.
Okay. But how would we change the requirements? What would
Well,
be needed? What is not
In the
necessary?
section, right, in HRS 465 for temporary permit.
I mean, like the only requirement that it states is if the person is licensed or certified in another state deemed by the board to have standards equivalent to this chapter.
That language at the end is why.
Shall be entitled to a temporary permit in the same manner and subject to the same conditions.
So is that part subjective about the requirements that are similar
Well,
to, are we
it's
referring to the EPPP and
Well, it-
internship, everything?
It suggests that it's subjective because it says deemed by the board. So it is licensed or certified in another state deemed by the board to have standards equivalent. So it suggests that that would be a subjective, or the board would have discretion in determining whether or not it is.
I don't recall having had any temporary permits that we had to review. Are there very many that come forward?
Well, most of them, because they're in good standing and everything, they don't need to come to the board, so we'll just approve them administratively, but
They do still do the whole application thing?
yeah, and unfortunately, because of what that language states, it states that even though the board has discretion, it states that their license in that other state has requirements that are equal to or greater than ours. The only way we can know that is if they apply
Okay,
and using our application. So
right.
that
So,
language would probably have to be changed in some way to allow some other option for them, for example. So like maybe the board would like to keep language like that for people who would like to practice for like 1 year. But maybe someone who's only doing 2 weeks doesn't need to do that, like maybe they just need a license that's in good standing. And maybe the EPPP score or something, like that you would want, that is quickly accessible for them to send to us, right? So I think the major questions I always get in emails when it comes to temporary practice is what is the process? And can I, obviously? And so the answer is to the latter is, yeah, you can temporary practice, but you'll have to apply. And once I explain to what they have to do to apply, it turns into, oh, if I would have known this, I would have done this a month or 2 ago because their trip is next week.
Yeah.
So those folks
okay,
who have not enough time to apply,
okay.
it doesn't really work for them.
But we have that information on the website, and so they can actually look it up and see, right?
I mean, we probably need to add an FAQ up for a temporary practice.
Can you give us an idea, let's say in the past 3 years, each year, how many asked for temporary permits and how long the turnaround time is? Because I'm not sure if what you're saying is we can expedite it in some way.
Yeah, I think we can. I think administratively, our side of things, we can handle things in an expedited way, especially for those who have like a 2-week window where they need to practice. But we don't have the language to accept anything, other than what we're doing.
Situations, can we limit the time frame? Because right now it's 90 days, like just to 30 days, or like if we were going to just do like as long as they're in good standing and maybe something like that, right? In another state, if it's just for like a 2-week vacation or you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think that's not contemplated in that statute, yeah.
Can you give us an idea how many actually apply?
yeah, sure. I would probably say, well, I'll do a comparative, right? I probably get this question monthly, at least 2 or 3 times. How many applications come through? Will probably be about anywhere from 5 to 10 per year. But
Well, that means that several people don't apply, right? Several people who inquire feel like it's too much, and or they're going to advise the client, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to see you. The administrative challenges are greater than I can handle, and I think you should find your own person, right? So I think that from my perspective, we want to be able to make it easier for people to get access because we don't have a lot of providers here. So if someone comes to Hawaii looking to change therapists and they can't find somebody, I want them to be able to continue to see their therapist from home as they look for a new therapist and or, have access to that without it being an administrative hurdle for that therapist to be able to provide that service.
Yes. We want them psychologically supported when they come here. And so
Exactly.
Yeah.
if it takes that, then yeah, so however we can, at least my point, at least however we can facilitate this and make it as easy as possible.
I think it was 2 meetings ago, you said you wanted to like maybe work on the temporary stuff and looking into
Okay, I
it.
missed last
Yeah.
meeting, so.
Okay.
Yeah, no, so, but,
Yeah.
I guess, yeah, if you want to take it.
Process wise, okay, so process wise, I can come and we'll propose it at the next one and then get it
Okay.
approved. Is that, I can do
Well,
that
we
for
can
sure.
take a look.
Well,
We should discuss
So
it.
this is this is a,
Yes, please.
this is a statutory change.
Right.
So it would have to go through legislature as a bill.
Okay, cool.
So
Okay, so clarify, right now we say 90 days. Is it 90 days for a calendar year, 90 consecutive days?
it's 90
3 months?
days, 90 days.
This is-
Period not to exceed 90 days within a calendar year.
Yeah.
Okay,
But we typically keep it as a whole bulk 90 days because we don't have any way of tracking when they're actually doing it. So
okay, yeah, 90 days is a lot, because even 30 days, if you see someone every other week, it lasts a while.
And the board has a discretion to extend it for
yeah, for half a
period
year.
not to exceed 90.
Yeah.
So 90 session days or just with our?
No, 90 session days, that's
The
right.
calendar.
So when I draft the letter,
It's not-
when we draft a letter and we draw the LB, our systems can handle a date range from start to finish, not.
Sessions within, so it's a
Yeah.
date range of, okay, so
Yeah.
not amount of sessions. They can see them 90 times in 90 days or
Mhm.
one time in 90 days,
Exactly.
but it's just 90 days.
Mhm.
It's just the window. Yeah.
Ah,
So I have another question. For the ones that apply for temporary permits, is that more assessment for forensic reasons, or is it for following the patient that ends up coming to vacation and they want to support them?
That's a good question. I get both. Yeah, so we do get both law offices and those that they want to contract asking us if they need a license to do this work. If you look at the exemption in the chapter, to me, it reads kind of not current, like with current practices. Because I believe most expert testimony is actually involving assessment. So that means then you would need a license because you're doing the practice. But because the exemption talks about expert testimony, it doesn't say anything about assessments or anything like that. And I think that's where it's been really hard to understand what that exemption does.
Yeah.
But you have it?
Yeah, because there are times in which they call an expert to testify in court, but there are other times in which that expert also does the assessment and then testifies on their data.
So I got the exemption language here real quick. So, it says, nothing in this chapter shall prevent the provision of expert testimony by a psychologist who is otherwise exempted by this chapter. So, I mean, it's kind of like really hard to read.
I advised on this right before.
Yeah.
But it was a while ago. I can't recall specific the breadth of what was in that. But I mean, I guess it's a kind of off topic as far as.
Well, I mean, it's related to this in the sense that most of the temporary permits questions I get are either forensically related or they're for vacation.
Is it half? What would you say?
I would say it's more vacation and short period of time here. Once in a while, I'll even get someone who would like to track someone until they get care here. So that's a longer period of time, right? And so those are usually the folks who will get the temporary permit because that's kind of worth it. But if it's for just 2 weeks and it's like next week, those folks definitely fall off and they don't contact anymore. So, if this exemption were changed with regard to and at the same time as the temporary permit, that might adjust what kind of questions I get for forensic, for example. So if they can do more within that exemption, like assessments, eval, directly for that specific case, for example, not to pull in new clients and stuff, but just for that case to be consulted or whatever. But
What is the usual turnaround time for you? Because it's never had to come to us. So what's the usual turnaround time if they complete the application and it comes in?
it's usually about the same as
So 3 months.
so or 45 to 60 business days. Yeah.
Okay.
And if we have this, we can do a streamlined, whatever the word, the delegative process, so they can.
Yeah, so
Streamline.
if there's no deliberative knowledge required on an application for a temporary permit, so it's like a license verification that shows they're in good standing, right? No discipline. What other additional things you'd want to have? Like, I don't know what it could be. Let's just say, like, because for example, senior psychologists have to supply the EPPP score if they took it at that time. So they have to meet our EPPP score. So that's another condition, but that's something they can have sent from ASPPB real quick. And it doesn't require like verification of it. That's the big thing, right? That's
If all the states require basically each of them to be licensed, then I don't think.
Yeah, I think.
so
they
you
all
think
do.
just a license verification?
License verification and
Perhaps,
good standing.
I'll throw this out there. Like, I mean, it says if the person is licensed or certified in another state deemed by the board, so that is equivalent to this chapter. So if the board maybe in a future agenda, goes through all 50 or, goes through the states and determines like through its decision that these states have the, standard equivalent or exceeding our own standards, then it could be only a matter of just submitting proof that you're licensed and in good standing at those states. That would be consistent with the law. If the board
Yeah.
determined that, I mean, that's a possibility.
I had actually contemplated that, but it would mean you have to keep a current record and continuously update and ensure that they haven't had any amendments to their requirements. So that's 50 states, so that could be really tough.
Do you have the bandwidth to look up how the requirements are for the other states?
We usually keep track of,
You said that
yeah,
we're
we usually
kind of
keep
like-
track of it always. Yeah, they have set numbers or they move up and down according to the 75% or something. It's not, I don't think it, I can't, so how about this? I don't know if a state reduces their EPPP, so
Okay.
it's not that hard. It probably won't happen.
I think the only part I want to make sure that we have is a licensed doctoral level psychologist, because there's some states that license master's level.
That's a good call.
That is a good point. So you wouldn't want a master's level psychologist to temporary practice here?
No, because I would want it to be so
Equivalent to our-
equivalent to Hawaii's statutes.
That's a good point.
I think we run into a bit of a conundrum if we only limit it to that they have a license in another state because of this issue. Because how is it that we can give them a permit to practice, but we won't license them?
Well, I mean, I think,
So it's temporary.
yeah, I guess
Correct.
that's the argument.
We're willing to allow them to have a temporary license, but we're not willing to give them an actual license because of this issue, right? Is that what we're saying?
What's the issue? Sorry.
The issue is that they may come from California and only have done a 1,500-hour internship, but therefore they meet requirements for California, get licensed in California, and then want to temporarily practice here. And we would say, yeah, you have a license from California, you can practice. When in fact, they don't meet our standards. So we would just give them a temporary, but not an actual license.
Yeah. I mean, we definitely still need to look at it, right? Like, because even this, like, we're talking about statutory language, so you guys are gonna have to find some partner to help with this, right? Because somebody needs to introduce the bill. But that means we're still in development. Like, these are types of considerations that you guys should be reviewing, because you want a program to work the way it should, but not everybody has the same interpretation of how that works. So it is good to tease out these things, because
Yeah.
it's now in a meeting.
Yeah, no, this is a good discussion, and I can see what you're saying, Dr. Stern, in terms of, the consistency, across what we're doing to evaluate for the different levels of licensure, whether it's temporary or whether it's permanent license.
I think if I may, historically, this board has been seen as sometimes being a bit restrictive and excluding people because they don't meet our 1,900-hour requirement. And I think the intent is to get access to services. And if another state feels that someone is qualified, we may want to change and this is just me thinking, change to be more inclusive and say, yes, if you only have 1,500 hours and you're good enough for California, as long as you can show us you got the ethical piece and that you understand diversity and some of the cultural issues in Hawaii, I think we'll be less concerned about you practicing here.
But as a full practitioner, fully licensed, associate licensed, or temporary?
All three, with the idea that we're trying to get, we may need, it's not like lowering your standards. It's basically saying, being inclusive. And the fact that we have a conundrum with this discrepancy of hours that we have to resolve somehow. And it's not like we can just say, let it be. It seems like it's coming to a boil and we have to decide how we're going to resolve it.
Okay, but going back to just the temporary permit sessions, if we can
Sorry.
make. No, I'm glad that we have this broader discussion on how temporary as well as full, licensure and all of that, and looking at our rules and that have yet to be revised, but maybe we can take the first step in comparing the other states, right? Making a comparison to see that we're within, the general requirements of what others have been. Okay, so can we also get more information and then have a discussion further for the next session?
Okay.
Whatever is generated, Sean, Dr. Scanlon, and others, could it be dropped into that folder in our meeting materials in the board packet? Currently, the temporary permit item is empty. So if we do research, it'd be great to be able to preview stuff before the meeting. So if it could be dropped in there, that'd be great.
Okay, we'll do.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, so can we move on to the next one, administrative rules? We have been reviewing chapter 16-98 Hawaii Administrative Rules, and this is for us to have further discussion in that area relating to psychologists. And the board will consider amendments to the rules of West Virginia legislation and to make them more current. So I'm not sure if you or other people might have some updates on this.
Just ask for a testimony.
Oh, do we have any public testimony on this agenda item on administrative rules?
No, Chair.
Okay, none. Okay. Is there anything that you want to add to it, or Sean, you finished? Because you've been doing some.
I think it's in a
tracking.
working draft. There's a lot that I think is out of date or is not current with the new like APA ethics codes. For example, I think it says that you can't advertise or something like that. Like it's stuff that is old that needs to be updated. So I think we're working on that and kind of a thing, but it's just something we need to talk about, like how much. Maybe you can explain to me. We are trying to update this, and then that would go. It's approved here, and then it needs to go somewhere else to get.
Well, it's a huge train track of stops. But yeah, it starts with you guys doing the approval, and then it'll go to AG, and then it goes through a lot of other various processes that are both administrative but also controlling. So, the main thing is this regard to the question about I'm sorry I didn't get back to your answer. I was actually asking Jordan with regard to the ethics or the ethical code section. The question was, can we just refer to APA standards, right? Please stop me if I'm wrong, but I think our report would be that it would probably be better to include the entire ethical code that you're going to use. Because if it's going to be cited by RICO disciplinary actions, then they should have that in our rules.
I
So-
sorry, no.
Yeah.
I think it would also depend on how frequency and how it would be incorporated. Like I do know other boards refer to, I think, other institutions and their standards. But if it's like, I think it would be difficult for enforcement reasons to if it's if there's a significant amount in our rules that just refer to like CAPA or like in compliance with the APA, it would be difficult for someone like Rico or other, to like keep or to enforce it to the extent that they are not, it's not codified in our rules specifically. So I think if there are certain standards that we want to make clear, it should be in the rule. But I mean, I think it could be explored on like making a general reference to it, maybe as part of, I don't think we have rules on like our ethic, or I think on the ethics or what is constitutes like unethical conduct, things like that. Perhaps it could be included, if it's maybe a cursory reference, but if we're making a lot of our rules based off of the APA, what's currently in the APA and things like that, that would be difficult to just, I guess, continually have
I
it.
mean, it's not like the AP ethics, are 3 pages or something. So if we include all of that, it's going to be massive. And I think the issue that I mentioned to them was that it's not only just the ethics code, there's all these additional ones, child treatment, telehealth, and they just throw a bunch of things, which is good. Yeah. So it
Guidelines.
adds to it, which is good. I mean, that's what we want versus us being stuck in this one and having to update it every time they come out with something new.
Yeah.
Which is, again, which is new when they release it, but it's been in works for a long time and they've worked through it and everything. So I thought maybe that would be an easier way, because for us to put it all in is going to be massive, and to update it every time is going to take a whole new, I mean, that means we have to go to the legislature every time we update our ethics.
No, we don't, because this is in rules.
Okay.
Yeah,
The other problem is the AP ethics code, it changes. I mean, it gets modified and revised every so many years. So, whatever changes are, then we will have to make the changes there
Every
too.
time.
I mean, unless you don't agree with the change. I mean, you know what I mean? But because these are typically your ethics codes, right? That's the board's ethics codes. You're referring to the APA standards for the language, but it's still your ethics code, right? So you could pull in and out what you need that you think that people practicing in Hawaii should have as either resource and or parameter to make sure that the practice here is conducive to what is needed or whatever. So,
I think it depends on how the reference would be. I think it's too strong to say that we can't at least refer to it, but I think it's like, what is the breadth? Like if it's going to be simply a mechanism to like essentially replace like a chunk of our rules, that's where I'm concerned, where we don't have much, it just says see the APA, or I think.
Oh, yeah, no. There's like summary statements and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's just, it gets technical.
Yeah,
And then they capture it all. And it's like, well, we want to also capture it without, or we don't want to, eliminate those things because that's important,
Yeah.
So I think that's the part of that rulemaking process is where you can pitch the idea, can we do this? And then Jordan can say, well, this is my suggestion. So
Yeah, if I could see specifically where you'd like to like refer to it, I can imagine, and again, I'd have to look at it, I have to cross-reference it with our statutes and things like that. But if it's like in our, I was the rule I was looking, I think it's like 1694-34, where there's like, where we talk about what is unethical conduct, like I can see something in there, like any, conduct that is, violation of the APA, or making reference there, I think conceivably it makes sense. I think where I get concerned if it gets too interwoven into like many aspects of the rules where it just becomes,
What was the length of time that it's been since administrative rules have changed? You mentioned that before.
do you want me to state publicly?
Yeah. No,
I believe it was 1998.
Okay, so I guess it begs the question of, if the rules have not changed to 1998, then what has impeded it? Is it because there has been no need, or it's so overwhelming that it goes in fits and starts and never goes anywhere? So with that in mind, my question is, are we trying to do a wide scale change in all the rules, which I'm not sure if, I think that will delay it even more, right? Or do we want to take a look at what sections we want to begin with or are most relevant in order to concentrate efforts? Do everything, which maybe that's what has held everything back.
Mm.
Or do we want to do it in the most important segments that we think are most pertinent?
So I'll give a short answer in stating that yeah, I mean, I think it's just there's a lot to do in the chapter, and I think it can get overwhelming and it starts and stops. I mean, changing of members can also affect whether the rules keep going through executive officer changes. So that's the big one. But because they're kind of the steward of the process for you guys. So yeah, I mean, there are many different strategies.
So I'm just wondering what strategy we want to take.
Yeah, I mean, my suggestion is you have some things that you've been thinking and focusing on for quite some time, and those might be more well-formed than, say, addressing that total ethics section. I'm pretty sure there's nothing that bars a board from running package 1 and package 2 simultaneously. And so if you have all the language that you have already adjusted and it's calculated and want in something like for internships and postdocs, you can make that a rule package and just only focus on those sections. Meanwhile, have an ethics package and that's being worked on, but that's not maybe moving so quickly right now. So you can move that other one forward without it all having to be done together.
That's one thought. I just maybe I'd point out too, it's on the agenda, SB 847, which is for the pilot program.
Yes.
And then start, I think,
Yes.
tomorrow.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like there's any vetoing.
Yeah, I mean, if that is the case.
Yeah.
I think rules for that program, because it's going to be put in effect, immediately is probably a priority.
Yeah.
Considering that. Yeah, I think especially considering the time frame, it's just a 3-year program. We need to hopefully get these rules out as quickly as possible so that there's there's to effectuate so that's probably a priority.
Yeah, this is sort of to me, I haven't ever heard of it, so it's kind of unprecedented to be generating rules within this time frame.
I think the board had initially expressed that concern and then withdrew it to help it pass, but
Well, I hope it helped because it really puts us out.
yeah.
Okay, so we have discussion in this area about how to be most productive in terms of the rule changes and different kinds of suggestions. So I'm trying to, narrow it down so that we know what our workload is between now and the next sessions. Keeping in mind all the board members and their bandwidth to do things.
I believe right now you guys have a pig, right? With you and Sherry.
Yeah, we can, when we get to that restrictive authority part, we can share a little bit about that.
Looks like there's a public comment.
Oh, no ahead.
There was a hand, but I wasn't gonna say that though. Actually for the pig, the way unfortunately that it works under the law is like if you make a report, it that ceases the pig. So unless you have a final report with recommendations.
We don't have a final report.
Okay.
We can just say what we done. Okay.
I went up.
Okay.
Hi.
Hi. Is Stephen the one that raised his hand?
No, it's
No.
Dr. Steinman or?
Yes, it wasn't letting
okay,
me
then.
use my microphone. I just wanted
There
to
you are,
let
Judy. Hi.
I apologize. I did find the link and I just wanted to let you know that Dr. Sam Dutton is here as well. If you do have any questions that we can help you with on SB 847.
Okay, that would be great. That's next on our agenda.
Okay, great. I just wanted to let you know we were here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so, um,
So before we move on
Yeah.
from those rules and stuff,
Right.
so we do have a bunch of edits and stuff. So do we set that and then bring it to the next one, or do I run it past you guys? Or
I think it'd be good for me to help you guys organize it for the meeting, yeah.
okay. Can I also make a request, though, that all the board members take a look at what the proposed, changes might be or corrections so that they're aware of it?
I think as long as, I mean, if it's part of the board packet, then yes.
Yeah, but in between, it would probably violate sunshine to pass.
Oh, but we usually have it for everyone to review.
For the board, yeah, right.
For the board
Yeah, if
packet.
it's part of the board packet
Right.
to distribute
Yeah,
before the
yeah,
meeting, I
yeah.
think that's fine. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think it just discussing it in between the meeting is.
Yeah, no, it's to take a look at it ahead of time, so they're aware.
Cool.
Thanks for doing
Well, it
that.
looks like we-
Sean and Steve,
so-
by the way.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, what did
I
you
was just
say?
thanking Sean and Steve for doing that.
Okay.
Um,
Yes, thanks, yeah.
so I just wanted to be clear. So we're in agenda item 5. It has a sub A and B. And we've kind of been bouncing between the two, right?
Yes.
Okay, so are we gonna go address those A, B now, or did we already?
Well, we haven't looked at A yet.
Oh, okay.
Right. I think we're talking about more B than we were talking about A.
Right, okay. So what was happening in the conversation thus far, you feel was conversation on B?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll just make sure that's in the minutes.
Okay, thanks. Okay, can we move on to A in the area of prescriptive authority? Is there anyone wishing to provide testimony to 5A on prescriptive authority? And I think that we had people that had raised their hands. Yes. Okay. Both Dr. Judy Steinman, Dr. Samuel.
Did you wanna just call on them when we need them, or did you want to pull them into the
Well,
conversation?
they can provide a comment if they like, so if that's what he's indicating, then.
Okay.
Okay.
Um,
Okay,
this is,
let them provide comments.
this is Sam Dutton. I'm just going to introduce myself to let you know that I am a prescribing psychologist and I am here in Hawaii. I am prescribing on a military facility. I'm not representing the military, but I'm here. I'm licensed within the state of Louisiana to prescribe medicine, and I'm available to help with moving forward with HB 847 as far as the Board of Psychology is concerned. I think I am the only person on Hawaii that has, I guess, a lot of experience and many years of licensure as a prescribing psychologist.
Dr. Dutton, you said that you're a licensed psychologist I'm sorry, in what state? In
I'm a licensed prescribing
Prescribing
psychologist
psychologist in Louisiana.
in Louisiana. I'm also a licensed psychologist here in Hawaii.
Oh, okay, and licensed psychologist in Hawaii. Thank you.
Sure.
Were there any other, testimony or comments that you wanted to provide to the board in light of the Senate Bill 847?
Assuming that this bill is finalized, which it looks like it's going to be, we'll have to put together, regulations within the Board of Psychology for administering this. So that will be a next step as soon as we know for sure that this is enacted legislation, which I think is going to be the case within the next 16 days or so.
Dr. Dutton, this is Christopher. Are you familiar with Louisiana's actual statutory language?
To a degree, yeah.
Okay.
Louisiana,
Yeah,
the
sorry.
Louisiana model is a little bit different from the model that we're going forward with here in Hawaii. In Louisiana originally did prescribing psychology within the Board of Psychology. Okay, but later on, after several years, they went ahead and actually moved prescribing psychology over to the Board of Medicine in Louisiana, which is they're the only state that's done this. But they still maintain very strong presence within the Board of Psychology. And that's where it started out. So yeah.
Okay. So it might be somebody to be able to use for the language part.
Right, or look at other states that are similar to Hawaii and, and the constitution of our members and compare it to a similar type of state, right?
One of related to that, sorry, Dr. Steinman, we see your hand too. Related to that, in the board packet, I included the bills that were introduced this year for prescriptive authority, either pilot project or just like Outer Island, I can't remember. So the idea I had ran by Jordan was to ask if we could possibly use this language, so we don't have to think this whole out. We could use this language within the rules in its own section that will have an expiration on the pilot project date. So really, it'll sit there in the future, but it'll be all expired. But that was one way we thought of maybe expediting this process, because there's a lot of like parameters within those laws with regard to practice, but also like requirements.
I would recommend you run that through maybe myself and Dr. Steinman before deciding on what to choose for that.
Right. So I think potentially the way the board could see this is that you review that language, you include it in a rule change draft, which would then be presented at a board meeting. And you guys have the options of looking at that language. Whether or not the board wishes to bring you in to consult beforehand, that's up to them. So you were definitely, are you guys open to having support like that coming from the outside?
Definitely we would.
Okay.
We would
Okay.
support from the experts of the people that have been prescribing or that have proposed legislations in other states and know what is working and what's not working.
You guys can always email the board's website, the board, and I can help coordinate with our board members. So
I'll just note, I think the starting point though is SB 847, the language there, because there's requirements on what rules need. I mean, there's certain things that it requires, like what prescriptive authority, other safeguards that I'm sure need to be done. So I think to the extent that other legislation is considered, as possibly to incorporate with the rules, the starting point is SB 847.
That's exactly correct. And those starting points differ state to state. And so the language state to state differs as a result of those starting points.
yes.
708?
SB 847.
Are they the same thing, just as a point of information? Because 708 is the material that was submitted or it was available to us in the drive.
708 was the only one in the drive.
Okay, yeah, we only got 708.
Yeah, I did not put 847 in.
Yeah, but 847 is the one that we need.
Okay. Sorry, if you go on the legislative website, you can search SB 847. I do have paper copies here for our members. Do you have 847?
I don't.
Can we pass it on?
So maybe for the purpose of this meeting, I don't know if you would contemplate forming a pig or something like that, where you could also include, you know, if you at your discretion, reproductive and
Yeah. At the last session, we formed a pig.
was it specifically to for
Descriptive authority.
okay, got it, okay.
And we had the authority to consult,
Yes,
which we did.
so
Reach out to them as well.
okay, yeah, so you guys can work on that. Yeah, I would just say the starting point is SB 847. You can certainly consider other legislation on things that you believe fall within the scope of SB 847, because I think some of the other legislation was contemplating, you know, it as part of full licensure or, you know, not as a pilot program. But yeah, I would just note to start with the parameters of what or to set forth in SB 847. And then from there you can, you know, incorporate other things if you see fit, and then maybe we can discuss that whatever meeting we can to incorporate it as quickly as we can, because just given the
The window that we were
Yeah.
provided, but I think Dr. Steinman had raised her hand earlier, and I wanted her to be able to give some comments in regards to this. But thank you, Dr. Dutton, for sharing your comments.
My pleasure.
Absolutely, and I just wanted to make sure that you all were aware that Dr. Dutton is available as a resource of somebody who has gone through the licensure process, obviously someplace else. But we have from Division 55 created documents that indicate what other states have done. I believe I've given that to you already as you know, basis for starting off. But the language that I had sent to you at one point, I think it was 807 or 708,
708.
this was the language that we had spent, you know, I've been doing this, 14 or 15 years. So over the last 8 years, I believe, that was the language that we had come up with in terms of the hours of training, grandparenting in people who have licenses from other states. And that's going to be important to be able to pull off the pilot study, because originally when we asked for the 5 years, that would have given people time to get trained up for the first 2 years while you were developing the rules. But now that we don't have that luxury, I believe we are going to have to invite people who are already licensed elsewhere. And so we want to try to, you know, to participate in the study. So we want to try to, you know, build what we need for the pilot, and then also what we're going to need, you know, at the 4 or 5 year mark when the pilot is approved, hopefully. So I just wanted to make sure everybody is aware that we have a number of resources if we can help in any way, just to let Dr. Dutton and me know. Okay.
Thank you.
Do you guys have an idea about the timeframes you'd like to see with regard to development and introducing the first draft of the rules, and where you want it, like?
In this lifetime?
Yes, yeah. Like, are you thinking like end of the year? Before that?
Yeah, end of the year.
When does the 3-year timeline start?
I believe like July 1st.
Oh, that's
So when
the
the bill,
clock's ticking
yeah,
already.
yeah.
Yeah, so that would be 6 months. Taken, but if we can try and get it beforehand, obviously we can. I just was wondering if you guys were thinking next month. We gotta try and have something, but
In fact, I won't even be here for the next month's meeting.
okay. Sounds good. So I can coordinate, so I can help you guys coordinate with them and And anything you guys need, just let me know.
We've been in touch with Dr. Steinman.
Okay, good.
She provided a lot of materials. I was
You provided this.
Yeah.
708.
Yeah, so I was wondering whether the materials that she provided that we could also provide to the board or not.
As a pig, sure, I think.
Well, there
That's what I was wondering.
Comparison as well.
What other materials are,
She was asking if they could bring stuff into the meeting.
what other materials?
For example, what the different states
Yeah.
and what their requirements were.
Well, I think it depends on how it's being presented, right? Because I think you'd only present when you have your final recommendations, things like that. So updates and things,
Okay, not
For the
materials that.
unless it
that
pertains
would
to
be
it.
PowerPoints for people to review, because otherwise we'd have to explain everything, right?
She provided just as the chair.
I mean, unless it's another agenda item that has nothing to do with her pig.
Right.
Yeah,
So I mean,
sure, then that's fine if it's another agenda item, but to the extent that it's. Yeah, I think it just, we need to be careful to the extent that it's perceived as like a final recommendation or anything like that. I'll say this, OIP has clarified, like in their view of this system, that you can't have ongoing like updates to the board about what's happening in your investigation. It has like whatever the second meeting is that has it, that's what ends it. For what reason, I don't know, but that's what OIP is.
can we field input? That's different than a report.
Input from who? The board.
The other members,
Yeah.
since they can't speak to other members outside of a meeting. We are requesting your help to give us.
I guess if it's worded in the agenda as like, correctly, I think that
Another option could be to maybe vote to disband the pig and just work together with them, and then you don't have that parameter.
I mean, we could, but perhaps we can think of that at another.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, my thought is just educative for the rest of the board members, so, it's, materials that would be useful in the board's deliberation.
But wouldn't that come at when you make your final recommendation though, as opposed to piecemeal along the way? That's, I could see that, it's like you guys have your final recommendation, and at that point you can share with whatever materials you can after you maybe have your a first draft that you're going to present to the board at that point. Unless
It's a lot then for the board to digest. Right?
yeah, but I mean, perhaps it's more appropriate because, even if it's like it's within 2 or 3 months that you come back and I don't know how much purpose there would be to say, oh, for this, we're thinking about this and here's, as opposed to all at once and you're presenting it, here's the materials that we.
And you can always, I mean, you guys still can talk with Jordan and I. So, if you have those kinds of questions that you're concerned that members may need more orientation, then we can address that specifically. Then,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I'm not saying absolutely no. If there's something you feel like the board needs to share, like maybe bring it to Chris and we can discuss whether or not that's in compliance with sunshine at that point.
As a digester, I would like it all kind of nice and done and get the explanation then, and then the periodic one, it kind of gets muddy, I think, so, that's just on me, I don't know how about.
I would agree. I think the purpose of the pig is to do that, and then to allow yourselves to kind of be strainers and strain out the stuff that is more than needed by board members to make good choices and decisions and support the process. And so I would be in favor of you folks just going ahead and drafting something, and then after you're done, the pig would be disbanded, and then we can kind of process it as a group without that provision being a barrier.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, we can do that.
It's groundbreaking, it's cool. Yes.
Let me see. Okay, is there any other discussion for prescriptive authority before we circle back to licensure requirements and make sure that we're settled for that?
No raised hands, Chair.
Okay, great. Okay, So let's circle back to license requirement modernization. Was there any other discussion? Was it clear in terms of the next steps going forward?
Yeah, I can work with like Sean, I can work with
Okay.
you and we can do these little sections, consider the ethics and everything.
Okay. Super. All right, let's move on to let's see. To the questions for the board that were posed. And I think that there are three different areas or three different ones. And okay. So the board will address the following questions and see if we need to provide a response. And I'm not sure whether we can discuss in open session or whether we need to go into executive session to talk about the various ones.
If you have questions for me, then we can move into executive session.
Okay.
So were we starting with A?
Yes,
Okay.
okay. So is this something that we're starting with A in which we would want to move to executive session? Or is this something that you think we can leave in open session? So if people have questions that they need to consult with our DP about, then we can move to executive session.
I can read the question.
Yes, go ahead.
So Dr. Jeffrey Coombs, I'm sorry if I mispronounced the name, wrote that he reviewed the requirements for directing an individual pursuant to 16-98-4 Y8 administrative rules. He noted paragraph 6, which states that the supervisor works in the same physical setting as the person being directed unless other arrangements are approved by the board. He asked to confirm he can remotely supervise a postdoctoral trainee with both on Hawaii Island.
What does he mean by both?
Both he and the supervisee are on separate areas of the island.
Instead of it co-locating in the same place.
Right. Yeah. In the past, I think it was in 2022, I think it was around that time, we were still doing telepractice under like executive orders and things like that. And Kaiser had come with people who were that were working as psychological assistant kind of thing. So that's pursuant to that section 1698-4. And because of that same language, they had requested if it was okay, and they provided certain information to the board. So it required like their like supervision schedule and I think some other things in there, which the board reviewed at a meeting. And then once approved, then that met the requirements of this statement in the question, right? So they no longer were working for the same physical setting, but the board approved that they could work remotely under supervision, remote supervision, in that setting because they had provided basically what they were going to do within that. So that's just the history that the board has done so far.
I think this goes, I mean, this is the point, they didn't have telehealth when they were doing this or even television. So that would definitely be one of the updates. I looked at, and so far as APA and postdocs that they do remote supervision. I think the issue for this one is going to be that are the cases under the licensed psychologist or are they separate? And so I think that's when I read that is the.
Can you repeat that again?
Are these cases under the supervising psychologist or are they under this other person and the supervisor is just,
I see.
consulting on it? So I think, that's the thing. It says.
It's a primary versus a consulting.
Yes,
supervisor?
sorry.
Doesn't it ultimately, though, end up being on that supervising psychologist's plate because it's their license? They're supervising. So even if the client is at a clinic, let's say in Hilo, and working under the psychologist, if the supervising psychologist is got the license and they're working under that psychologist is responsible. Is that not correct?
Yeah, yeah.
But I wanted to bring back to, which exemption are we talking about right now? Because
The
you have,
telehealth exemption.
so we
That's
have,
the issue. Yeah.
we have an exemption for postdoctoral work, right? For practice that is meant for training, right? Postdoctoral training. That's separate than the exemption that is used for HAR 1698-4. Right? So in this question, oh, it is a postdoctoral trainee.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
So which exemption are they falling under? So let me see here. Where did I put the rule?
Wouldn't it be 465.3.2? Any person who performs or any combination of professional services defined of the practice of psychology under the direction of a licensed psychologist in accordance with the rules adopted by the board.
Sorry, I'm trying to find the exemption.
Sorry, 465.3 subsection A, paragraph 2.
Right. No, sorry. I thought there was a separate exemption. Sorry.
I'm just thinking out loud here, but it seems to me that if remote supervision somehow introduces a bit of risk or danger for the patient, such that the patients can't receive protection and safety ensured, that would be a reason not to allow remote supervision, unless you can ensure that the patients and folks' physical safety and consumers are protected, despite the remote nature of the physical disconnect.
Is this person that they're saying they're supervising is in part of a training program and he's supervising it as part of the training?
I don't know. This was I think most of the information I had, so.
Because works in the same physical setting is, I mean, that's sometimes that's part of the internship kind of specifications or the postdoc specifications.
Well, there is an exemption for a student with psychology. So if you're in an internship, you're exempted through another paragraph. So I don't think it would include interns.
And then the client is under the primary professional clinical responsibility of the supervisor. I'm trying to find the person's email, but that didn't sound like this is the case for this.
So what is the case? He's supervising for what purpose?
I think she's like he's in Kona or something. So
He's in Captain Cook, I think, right? And she's in Hilo.
yeah, it doesn't sound like it's his clients, I guess. That's
I think they are his telehealth clients.
they're his telehealth clients.
I think so, because he's a
Yeah.
full telehealth, is what he says in the letter.
Yeah, so that was all my only concern. So
Is Dr.
supervision.
King's in attendance at all?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it in? Yes. Oh, that's very much. Should be somewhere in there. Oh, here, yeah. No, this is Cindy.
Sorry, I'm just a little scattered. So I guess so far as his question, if they have to be in the same physical setting, that's not the case.
Right. This is one of those where we haven't caught up yet, because now it makes more sense to provide telehealth supervision and we're not there. So we're still stuck with what we have.
But the rules, the rule allows for discretion, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's,
Unless other arrangements are approved by the board.
so if the board approves it, it gives you that discretion too, as long as it's not inconsistent, perhaps.
And I think in order to make it not arbitrary and capricious, the board set certain standards for that at that time back then. I can bring those back to the board. with like the minutes and everything.
We
So
already kind of set a precedence for this.
through the Kaiser
Yeah.
addressal, yes.
But, I mean, I think it depends. I think it depends on how that was worded. But that could have just been how the board, they approved the arrangements in that particular case, and then in this case,
Okay.
as long as it doesn't directly contradict, I think, like if it was the same scenario, same factual basis, and we didn't allow for remote, then
Right.
I think that's where, but
I think the previous concern with the board was just like Sean, you were alluding to, it's just that someone's not just out there practicing on their own without the supervision actually happening or whatever, you know. So I think that, you know, that was why the board at that time asked for what is the regular supervision, you know, meeting cycle? How many hours are in person? How many are remote? How many are in a group? You know, that
Can we ask that of these guys for this?
can.
That would be fair. Again, my whole thing is like, it is who has the primary professional clinical responsibility of these cases? And is it Dr. Coombs or is it the
Someone else.
person? And that's where the
Yeah.
issue would be.
And another additional.
Especially if it's gonna be telehealth, like we should have more.
Another additional thing that the board requested was to confirm that they had a safety plan in place. Because not only was the supervisor not there with the practitioner, but they also wouldn't be, you know, they'd be separated from the patient as well. So if that patient's in crisis, you know, like, do you have plans for all that in place? I think that was part of that
Yeah.
also.
Yeah. See, I was a little bit confused about this because he said that he has closed his motor and brick practice. He does just telehealth. And so he's saying that's why he cannot meet with this person in person for supervision? Is that what he's saying?
It's
It's a long way. It's a long drive, a lot of time wasted that could be spent in supervision kind of thing.
Right, okay. So it didn't have anything to do with not having physical office.
I think that was just backstory to help you understand what brought him to this situation.
Okay. So we don't know whether the individual that they're supervising has other supervisors or, you know, or he's just supervising her in her private practice kind of thing.
I'm worried that he's been doing this under the assumption that it's okay. And now he needs administrative approval to do it. And so he's hoping and his student is hoping that it'll be okay. And this is something that they probably should have checked before they started doing the supervision remotely.
I mean, one thing that, anyone can kind of lean on is that your guys' internship and postdoc requirements are very sparse. So there's not a lot of parameters to them.
Would it matter as well if the supervisee is seeing patients in person?
Yeah. Versus telehealth and what kind of provisions are being made. Okay.
Well, I like where you're going, Steve, with this, which is in your mind, I'm imagining what could happen, right? So this supervisee is seeing patients in an office in Hilo, and one of the patients comes in agitated, and there's no supervisor available to provide backup or support and to be readily available because they have a scheduled supervision later that day, but not right now. I'm in session myself. I can't be interrupted, and it's all telehealth. So how do you facilitate immediate support for this supervisee when it's all telehealth and it's remote like this and distant? Doesn't that create a safety issue for the client and for the supervisee?
Wouldn't that be the same if the person that was the supervisee was doing telehealth and then the supervision was also telehealth? Right? I mean, there'd be still the same concerns, you know, that they had negotiated or they had indicated what the provisions would be if there was a crisis or emergency.
I think I need a little more information from Dr. Coombs So one of the things I'd like to know is, is he in on the telehealth sessions and just camera off, so that he really is on right there in support of the client during sessions, and could, if necessary, step in and be like, I need to reword that. That's not actually how it has to be, kind of thing, where they can step in like that during a session and provide the level of supervision that I think may, in certain cases is needed. And so I kind of want to know if they attend any of these sessions themselves, or if they're only available for supervision, and whether they remain available while the supervisee is actually seeing these clients of his, Dr. Cumes, if he's available to step in if the supervisee reaches out for support and needs help.
And my comment would be, again, I'm going off of the APA on their postdoc, is that it says supervisors must maintain an ongoing supervisor relationship with the resident. They have primary professional clinical responsibility for the cases. And so that would be my whole thing, that he doesn't give it. So if he can provide that.
If he's saying he's familiar with the case and that he has set up provisions in case there was a crisis.
Correct. And I think that, I mean, we probably have the same for. So should I say that? Sorry.
I agree. Thanks, John.
So I found the cases with people doing remote supervision from the February 3rd, 2023 meeting. Sorry. So the board had me draft a letter that states that at the meeting, the board reviewed to approve arrangements with their supervisor. Based on the information you and your organization provided, the board voted to approve your request to provide hybrid supervision. Please be advised that the board's approval is contingent upon the parties adhering to the following conditions. Hybrid supervision must adhere to an 80-20 model where no more than 80% is remote supervision with 20% in person. Ensured ongoing safety and security of the patients under the care of Dr. Dunn with established emergency procedures in place. The board also requests a copy of the materials provided to patients who should be informed of the hybrid supervision. Additionally, authorization is good for 1 year from date of approval. And you'll be responsible for re-request authorization to provide hybrid supervision.
Okay, so I think we need more information, right? We're not even sure whether the supervisee has provided information to the clients that she's seeing, that she's being supervised by someone and remotely, right? I think we need to say that.
Okay.
And I think we need to make sure that he has provided for the crisis or the emergency kind of situation, gone over with that. And I guess the other question is, does she have any direct supervision that's face to face? Or is it all remote? I don't know.
Now, this is for a postdoc or an intern? The letter.
Postdoc.
That was a postdoc.
I believe these were.
I think that, so my 2 cents is, I think that what you had is good, because that captures Dr. Stern's comment on the emergency part, my comment on the clinical cases part. Looking at it at the 80-20, it might be an older, out of date kind of requirement. But so far as the other things, I think that would all pertain, that we don't know enough about the case. And it's kind of scary for us to approve it if we don't know any of those things.
Would you like me to reply to Dr. Kuhn to request additional information?
Yeah. Okay, for sure.
Okay.
What about the onus of responsibility on the supervisee? It's like the supervisor is running interference, but it's the supervisee that is the applicant.
Correct. They're the ones that might be in violation of something, right? They might be practicing without adequate supervision.
So it would be good to see their documentation, right, of what their agreements were between the both of them for the supervision and who's responsible for what.
I was just gonna only suggest, it sounds like it's good, you're gonna defer this and then ask him for a bunch of information, I think it probably makes sense to invite him to attend the meeting too.
Okay.
I'm sure there'll be.
Okay,
I would say if it's appropriate, and I don't know if it is or not, to invite the supervisee as well.
oh,
I mean, it's up to the board. I don't know. I can't see what legal relevance information she has would to come to the decision, but if the board wants to.
I just feel like, she may not know. Dr. Coombs is assuming it's okay, and we're going to be telling them, and actually, we're not so sure it is. And as the supervisee, if I hadn't, I would be wanting to know about this. Almost like, is this all happening? And I'm just kind of hoping that it turns out okay for me. I'm the one who wants to get licensed, and this may be not working for me.
I just note too, in your rules, you define, I mean, I don't think it bears any relevance to the decision, but just so that you're aware, your rules do define direction. Direction means the management, regulation, supervision, instruction, and guidance of the actions or operations of an individual. Direction shall be presumed if the person directing another individual has the legal, administrative, and professional accountability for the services to be rendered. The term does not include consultation with an individual. So, I mean, yeah.
okay. Yeah,
Okay. So I'll draft a letter,
okay.
Dr. Coombs, requesting further information that has been
Yeah.
noted in the meeting.
Right. And I'm hoping that they're not assuming they're counting the clinical supervision hours before the arrangements were approved by the board. That's what they're asking, right? Can we take a brief recess?
You just did.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay. All right.
I'm going to turn my camera off, and I'll be right back. Thank you.
Okay, we are now back in session after our recess and we're moving on to B. And I'll read what that involves. Dr. Deanna Mirzai Nagasaka asks, my spouse who holds an active LMFT license in Hawaii and I are planning to establish a content-based business focused on psychoeducational education for couples. We intend to draw on our professional knowledge and experience to create general educational content, not to provide direct clinical services of any kind. And then she lists a number of compliance questions. I'll give you time to just read it so that I don't have to read it out loud.
Okay.
Okay. Do you want me to read it out loud? Okay.
Fine for executive.
Yeah.
If the board wants to discuss, yeah. And then I don't know if the board wants to take a look at C too, just to see if, I mean, maybe we can. If we think that, if it's for C, we should announce that too, just so that she'll back in and out.
Okay.
Good idea.
Okay. So take a look at C2.
Has to do with psilocybin.
Yes, okay. Yeah, I'd like both of them to be discussed in or executive session. Okay.
Just get a motion
Okay.
to discuss those two.
I'd like to make a motion to discuss both B and C in executive session. Can I have a second? Second. Okay. Any objections, abstentions? If none, let's go to executive session for those two items. Okay, well, this is content heavy.
We're live.
All right, we are now out of executive session. We're in open session and I'll be making roll call. Please indicate if you're present and if you're alone, if you're not. Dr. Jeffrey Stern,
I'm present.
Dr. Stephen Paqueta,
Present and alone.
Dr. Sean Scanlon,
Present.
Dr. Sherry Takushi Isara,
Present.
and I am also present here. Okay. So in open session, we were addressing item B and item C. And in item B, that we will be deferring the questions that were posed pending investigation, further investigation, but by our EO.
Into the, just looking into the minutes,
Into
not
the
an
minutes, okay.
investigation proper.
Okay. Into the minutes to inform us about this. Okay, so that will be deferred, and then for C, we are also deferring that question by Amelia Colt, seeking further clarification on her inquiries. Okay. Can I make a motion for us to, no?
You can just, so you guys instructed me to send
Okay.
them out, so you can move on to 7 if you like it.
Okay, we're gonna move on to number 7 because we are going to try and get this done by 12. Okay. So can we enter into executive session? Do we need to do that to discuss the ratification of approved applications and also the application for review?
Seconded.
Okay. Any objections or abstentions to moving into executive session? Okay, hearing none, let's move into executive session.
To approve the rat, right?
Oh, okay, okay, we need to now, move to approve the applications for the rat list, as listed. I'll make a motion to approve the rat list, and can I have a second?
Second.
Okay, any kinds of objections or abstentions? Hearing none, that list is approved. Okay, for application for review, can I have a motion to have that, review for examination, Tanya Rueda deferred pending inquiry on more information.
I put a
So
motion.
moved.
Okay, can I have, one of you second, who didn't?
Okay, either way.
Okay,
Okay, I got Stephen on motion and Dr. Stern on second.
okay. Any kind of objection or abstention to the motion? Okay, hearing none, that motion is approved. Okay. So, we can now adjourn. Our next meeting is Friday, August 7th. I will be off island then, so you can
Okay.
double check to see if we can have one.
Is anybody else able to make that meeting on August 7th?
Double check real quick.
I have it in my calendar, so I.
Okay.
I can make it.
Okay, are you okay with the meeting moving forward? If okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I will be off island then. That's when APA is having their convention.
I'm supposed to be in a planning meeting,
Updates.
but I would then end up missing that meeting. So
Gonna be in Portugal, and Spain for that.
Meeting adjourned.
Okay, the meeting is now adjourned, sorry. Okay.